So on this channel, I always share stories about how to build, scale, and exit SaaS businesses. I take all the lessons learned from my journey with ToutApp, the last company that I started, which I raised money for and then sold. So this video is a little different. I'm actually starting a new SaaS business, and I started working on it last year. And as part of this new SaaS business, I'm doing things slightly differently. So in this video, I'm going to show you the 3 steps that I took to start this brand new SaaS business from nothing. Intro. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Unstoppable. I'm TK, author of the book, How to Punch the Sunday Jitters in the Face, entrepreneur, and I also run the SaaS Startup School, where I help entrepreneurs like you go from starting, building, and scaling, and then even exiting your SaaS business. If you're an entrepreneur and you're building out a SaaS business, you're looking at starting, I also bring you a video on this channel every Sunday and every Wednesday to help you do exactly that. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon if you're new, so that you get notified every single time I drop an episode with TK Energy. On this video, I'm gonna be walking you through the 3 steps that I took last year to start my brand new SaaS business. I haven't really talked about this much because I've just been doing videos sharing my journey from building ToutApp, my last SaaS business, which I raised money from Andreessen Horowitz, scaled it, exited it. So this video is a little different. I'm starting something new. It's really exciting. It's very different, but it is a SaaS business. And before I wrote a single line of code, before I wrote anything, before I built any products, I did these 3 things to actually start my SaaS business from nothing. So I'm gonna be walking you through that. So if you're excited to dig in, go ahead and smash that like button and let's get started. In case you haven't figured it out, I am an engineer. I do write code, but through my ToutApp journey and my Marketo journey, I learned to embrace sales and marketing. So one of the biggest things that I learned, even in my ToutApp journey, because there were failed products that I had before ToutApp took off, I learned that before you actually write code to build a product, you gotta write code to build an audience. So that's the main principle that I teach founders now that are just starting out. Write code to build an audience before you build a product. So naturally, when I started on this journey to build this brand new SaaS business, which in case you're wondering, I haven't talked about this before. This is the first time talking about it in this episode. I followed a very different path. I took what really worked well from ToutApp and from any other SaaS business that I coach now, and I started to apply it for my own SaaS business. And that's what I'm gonna be digging through. So this is sort of my blueprint for every time I start a SaaS business and I work with the founder, especially if you're in the super early stages. If you're in the super early stages, usually it's a founder that has a technical background. They're at a really boring tech job and they're like, I finally wanna make that plunge. I wanna start a business. And they have some side projects, but they wanna really make a go at it. They wanna make sure it's a real business. So I always start with this framework. And if you're a longtime viewer of this channel, some of this will look familiar because I've actually talked about what I call my unstoppable sales funnel. I've actually talked about building an audience first. But in this video, I'm gonna really dig into the 3 steps you actually need to follow, which I followed for this SaaS business. Step number 1, let's dig right into it, is I actually got really specific about my ICP. Here's the thing, I knew that I wanted to start a SaaS business, but I didn't want to do a venture-backed one, not yet. What I wanted to do was start a self-sufficient, profitable SaaS business that solved a very specific need. And that's, regardless of whether we choose venture down the line or not, that's how every business starts. That's how every SaaS business starts. But instead of writing a line of code on what I thought the market needed, I followed this framework. And the first step was, what was the ICP? And for me personally, through my journey of being a CEO at ToutApp and being an SVP of strategy at Marketo, one of the things I got really passionate about was personal development. I realized that when you're a startup founder, every quarter the company is different. Every quarter you have to grow. And so I really embraced personal development. And as I embraced that journey, I learned that personal development isn't really taught in schools, and you don't even know about this thing called personal development unless you really seek it out. And so I realized that what I really wanted to serve was people that were high achievers before they discovered personal development. People that wanted to get more out of life, they wanted to accomplish big things, but didn't have a system to operate at that high performance. So I quickly realized that my ICP was people that were high achievers. And obviously when it comes to an ICP, there are a lot more details into what makes up high achievers. But I did that research and I really figured out okay, I really want to serve this group of people who want more out of life, but haven't discovered the secrets to high performance yet. And so that's who I wanted to target. The second thing I then did was I wanted to identify the macro trend. The macro trend is, what is one big thing that's happening to my ICP that is actually top of mind for them? It's a conversation that's already happening in their minds. It's a problem they're relatively aware of, but there's not really a solution, not that they're aware of. And so one of the things I realized, and this was from my own journey before I started my own company, was I kept having the Sunday scaries. This is why I call it Unstoppable Sunday. And if you've been a long time subscriber to this channel, you'll know that I did probably about 50 videos just on how to live a more proactive life, how to accomplish your goals, how to have an unstoppable Sunday. That's how this channel actually started. And so I realized this thing on the Sunday jitters and the Sunday scaries was a real thing. That was my macro trend. And when I actually did research into this macro trend, I learned that nearly 80% of employees experience the Sunday scaries at one point or another. And on top of that, not only are you feeling the Sunday scaries on a Sunday afternoon going into the Sunday night, Monday morning, you are 2 times more likely to actually experience a heart attack if you're a young male because of that transition into that work week. So I started to realize there was a real macro trend around this. I knew who my ICP was. My ICP was people I really wanted to serve. I want to serve these high achievers. I wanted to give back. And I realized that there was a transformation to be had. I realized, and this was from my own journey as a startup founder, I realized that if I spend 30 minutes every Sunday to really plan out my week the right way, to acknowledge where I am, and to think about what's worked well over the last 7 days and celebrate some wins, if I just did that for 30 minutes every Sunday, I would actually punch the Sunday jitters and the Sunday scaries. I would go into Monday with the plan, and I would start to shift from reacting to everything that was coming my way, and instead I was living more proactively. And this is one of the key things, this mindset thing was one of the key things that actually helped me transform into a CEO from just an entrepreneur or an engineer. And so I knew that if I could just get people to start practicing this thing called Unstoppable Sunday every Sunday, if I could get them to just plan their week, they would not only get rid of the Sunday scaries, they would actually become better people. They'd be able to actually accomplish their goals. So I built out that transformation. I said, let's call it Unstoppable Sunday. And let's actually teach people how to plan their weeks. Out of these 3 things, once I figured out my ICP, once I figured out the macro trend, once I figured out the transformation that I wanted to bring to these people, out of these 3 things came out my manifesto. And I got on Instagram, and I got on YouTube, and I got on my blog, and I started to actually share content every single week, and I linked them to my manifesto. And my manifesto was nothing crazy. It was just a PDF file. It was a PDF document that outlined like, hey, if you want to accomplish your biggest goals, the biggest way you can start is by planning your week. If you plan your week, then you go into every week with a proactive mindset. And when you do that for a few weeks, you can actually set goals. You can go after a 5-year vision. Everything starts to come together. And with that manifesto, I just posted it online and I ran the standard marketing practice. Before I even wrote a single line of code, I started to build an actual audience. Nearly 9,000 people have downloaded my life planning guide so far. If you're interested in getting my life planning guide, it's getunstoppable.com/life-strategy. You can go check it out. I'll link to it below as well if you're interested. And in fact, I kind of forgot that I wanted to build a SaaS business last year because all of this was going so well. It was going so well that I turned it into an actual book. So in the intros of this channel, you'll notice I would say how to punch the Sunday jitters in the face. I actually took the life planning guide and I wrote out my whole story of how I discovered it and my journey as a startup founder, and I put it into this book. And I self-published it, and up to today, we've sold nearly 4,000 copies of this book, and it's become a bestseller on Amazon across 7 countries and 12 categories, which is also insane. But that's neither here nor there. Because I did all of this, I ended up with an audience. And because I ended up with this audience, I was able to actually have quality customer conversations with this very engaged audience. I was able to email them, I was able to chat with them, I was able to bring them into webinars, and I was able to actually survey them. And as I surveyed them over and over and over, and as I talked to more people and more people and more people, something emerged and product actually emerged. And this is the classic strategy that I followed and I ended up following with ToutApp, and I ended up following with this new SaaS business as well. Instead of building a product, I built an audience first. And because I built an audience, I was able to ask that audience in my ICP what their most pressing problem was. And that's how Unstoppable Sunday was born. So this is the new SaaS product. After actually building an audience and having all these conversations with them, they told me what they valued most. And so we quietly launched UnstoppableSunday.com. I think it was about 2 weeks ago. Steven and I are working on this, and I'll have to introduce Steven at some point on this channel. It's gonna be super awesome. And we launched it. And we launched it as a $9 a month product. And the beauty of this is we didn't write a single line of code until we actually built out an audience, we built out our ICP, we built out our manifesto, and that allowed us to really vet out whether this product was gonna be valuable or not to the market. And as soon as we built the product, we hit up our audience, and we said, hey, do you want to use this? And of course, everyone started signing up, which has been super awesome. Now, this is still early days. We're still working on scaling it. We're tracking product market fit in the right ways, but one of the things that I realized from my audience was the thing that they valued the most, high achievers. Forget being proactive, forget building a life plan. The core thing they wanted to start with was they wanted to be able to plan their week. And when they planned their week, they wanted to be reminded through the week on what their plan was. And that's what UnstoppableSunday.com does. It's very simple. It's a very simple SaaS product. You are reminded every Sunday to go into the product, and you are guided through planning your week. And once you plan your week, it says, cool, you're awesome. On Monday, it like literally emails you and texts you saying, hey, I hope you have an awesome week. On Wednesday, it reminds you and said, hey, this was your plan. You should go look at it again and make sure you're on track. And if not, just course correct. And on Friday, it asks you, hey, did you have some small wins or some big wins? Let's reflect on the week. And then on Sunday, again, it reminds you to plan the week. And over, the product helps you plan your week and shift into a proactive mindset. So let me pause here for a second before I tell you how this all comes together. If you're starting to get this, if you're starting to get the mantra of, hey, you should write code to build an audience before you build a product, let me just get a yes in the comments below, because I want to make sure you're with me. This is wildly different. I meet so many entrepreneurs that have built a product and are now trying to build out a go-to-market funnel. But if you start with this simple process, this simple 3-step process, you can de-risk yourself, and you can also save yourself a lot of time into building the right product. And by the way, if you are actually embarking on this journey of building a SaaS business, of starting a SaaS business, and you want to like get this framework and figure out how to get started, I actually have a 10-point checklist on how to start a SaaS business. So I'll link to it below. It's a 10-point checklist, so you can follow that, but watch till the end of this video, and then I'll give you the URL, or you can follow the link below as well, all right? So the question becomes, how does this all come together? Well, the way this all comes together is originally this ICP and this macro trend and this transformation helps me really clarify what I'm trying to build and who I'm trying to serve. And before I write any lines of code, this manifesto, which is just a PDF document and a lead magnet, I call it a manifesto because it just means more. This is like your guide of like your point of view on the market, right? Like what should exist before you create the software. This manifesto gets vetted with an audience. If an audience surrounds it, then you know that there's something real here. And when that audience is there, then you can ask them like, hey, if we build this, this, and this, and we solve this problem for you, is this important for you or not? And you'll learn that so much quicker because you'll have an engaged audience. Because we have an engaged audience, because we have this manifesto, number one, we're able to actually acquire leads at a very low cost, because we're not trying to sell them software, we're first trying to teach them something. And as we teach them something, we can then say, hey, by the way, we can help you solve this problem. Are you interested? And then they get the software. So that's how this is all coming together. I'm really excited about adding this new element to the channel. So in this channel, I bring you a video every Sunday and every Wednesday to help you start, build, scale, and exit your SaaS business. And I thought, all right, a lot of this is coming from my ToutApp journey and my Marketo journey. I wanted to add one more element where I'm in the journey with you. I'm building a small SaaS business. And the principles are all the same, whether you are trying to build a massive venture-backed business, which I know I'll do at some point, or you're trying to build a small SaaS business that's profitable and grows. They're all great. the principles are very similar in the early days. And so I wanted to add this element to the channel where I share along with the journey. So if you're new to this, be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon, because I will be posting more videos where I keep you updated on how this is going and how this is progressing, because there's a lot ahead. On top of that, if you are thinking about starting a SaaS business, whether it's a micro SaaS business, it's a bootstrap SaaS business, or you want to go after a venture-backed SaaS business, I've done all three. If you're interested in that, be sure to follow the link below for my 10-step checklist on how to start a SaaS business. You can also go to tkkader.com/SaaS-checklist. If you go there, I'll give you my 10 steps to starting a SaaS business, and I'll incorporate this framework in there as well. All right, so if you're starting to build a SaaS business, these are the 3 steps to absolutely follow. And more importantly, if you want all the 10 steps, be sure to download my 10-step guide, my checklist for building a SaaS business. If you got value from this video, please smash that like button. And also, if you're part of an entrepreneur group, a startup group, and you know a friend that is also thinking about starting a SaaS business and they would get value, please share this video with them or tweet this out. It would mean the world to me and my team. And lastly, remember, I drop a video like this every Sunday and every Wednesday. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon so you get notified every single time I drop a video with the TK energy. I'm TK, and remember, everyone needs a strategy for their life and their business, but when you are with us, yours, it's gonna be unstoppable. I'll see you in the next video.